Great. Hey, thanks everybody. Appreciate the time. You can jump into the next slide or the first slide rather. And a lot of this is going to be a little bit of the video of some of the content that we've created using AI and with the use of AI. A little bit about our company. You can actually go to the next slide. A little bit about our company. We've been around about 20 years in the training education space here based in Ohio. Um, one of our founding advisors was actually a Turing Award member in 1995. So he's been doing the AI thing for a long time, and he's still doing his AI thing over at Carnegie Mellon as a one of their leaders over there, and a global leader in AI. Of course, we used that early on with training education to really try to figure out how to incorporate AI into education. And for 10 years, the founder did do that, and the advising founders did do that. Fast forward to virtual reality and immersive technology and mixed reality coming out about 10 years ago, they decided to spin off and create content in virtual reality for training education purposes. And they started with their own students, thinking like engineering and project management for construction, things like that, and then expanded into nursing and medical boards and helping individuals prepare for those exams and licensure tests. And that really worked out well. So the past, 8 years or so, we've been devoted to, we've got about a team 60 or so globally, and we develop content for training and education using virtual reality and mixed reality. Next slide, please. And like was introduced a minute ago, we did deploy the largest virtual reality installment in the history of the world for education and training, and that was about a year ago or so. So I've got some really interesting data on that if anybody's interested in learning more about that. But really focusing on workforce development, and this is a puppy. That puppy there is named Harry. He is our CEO, our Chief Emotional Officer at our office. He is a real puppy. Next slide, please. And that is Harry, the puppy, recreated using AI. So not only are we taking AI, features and functionalities that already exist out there off the shelf, but we're actually creating AI models to develop. Internally, at least for now, to develop our own models that we can then take those models and then create other content with those models, and using AI to script and to create content and within the 3D modeling and even outside of that. So if we can go ahead and share the video, I'll explain a little bit more as we kind of talk through the video here. So is the audio playing over there? It doesn't have to play. I can talk over it. That's no problem.
It is.
Okay. Okay.
We're not hearing any audio in the virtual space, but it sounds like you can hear audio, Matt.
Given the symptoms of persistent abdominal
We
There
pain
got
we
it
go.
now.
and absence of fetal movements for 3 days at 30 weeks gestation, there
So
is an
I'm going to
urgent
talk
need
over this a
for
little bit,
hospitals or
but you'll get the
departments.
idea once you see
Immediate
what's going
assessment
on. So
with
this is for
people
Ohio
and
State
health
Medical
plans to
Center, Ohio State
evaluate
University
fetal
here in Columbus.
well-being and potential
We were doing a prototype.
dependent
Everything you see, we
findings.
created in AI using our own internally created AI generator, the models, the environment, and then we took AI like ChatGPT, for example, and integrated it into the conversation, so it becomes a conversational model. So not only am I talking, this is me, real perspective of first person's perspective of me wearing the headset, talking to these AI avatars. I'm having real conversations with them where I'm trying to trick them in the system. And then you saw the patient in the first video. I'm talking to that avatar in AI. And then I'm actually coming over here to my mentor, who's the doctor, who's listening to the conversation. And then I'm asking the doctor, how should I respond in this situation? What you're looking at now, which we do a lot of, is soft skills development in AI, because that's a little bit easier than some of the hard skills, which we're getting into developing and doing like interviews and how to react in different scenarios, and you can really build out some fascinating realistic scenarios in that situation. This is our AI tool that we've created. It's in beta right now for the public usage. Really cool, so supposed to be user friendly, and I think it is. I'm not a AI guy. I didn't come from this background. My background is education, so I can come in here and I'm kind of the guinea pig test pilot. Like, hey, Doug, if you can work on this and not struggle with it, then hey, we know it's probably ready for public consumption. So this is
Downlink
just kind
products.
of showing
Cell
you
division. Cells
working through a
duplicate
process of,
differentiating
of, of a
cells.
cell, for
Response to
example,
stimuli.
that you
Cells can
create.
respond
And
to
this AI
signals from
person
the
here
environment. By
is
understanding
talking,
the
giving an
structure
entire lesson,
of the cell,
and everything you see we
better
created
appreciate
in
the
AI with
complexity of life
tools that
and the
we've
intricate
created in
processes
house.
that sustain it. Know the components of the animal cell. Cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, mitochondria, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes.
And we can also create 360 videos and images, as you've probably seen with image creators and things like that in AI. We could do the same thing with 360 image creators. And so what we do with that is take the 360, maybe build hotspots around it, maybe build some scripting around it using AI. This was a call center. One of our customers wanted to show, pre-screening employees potentially who wanted to learn what is a call center and what does it look like and what does it feel like to be there. Now we are developing more of the hard skills. This is what you're looking at here, where our early days, we're creating things like construction, training, and how to drive a skid steer, for example. That's what you're looking at here. And now we're taking those models and we're kind of repurposing them using AI, where we're recreating everything using AI tools that we've created and being able to spit out a finished product like that. If you want to go to the final slide, so you can see, just kind of checking off the list here, some of the things that we've talked about, some of the things you can do with AI. You can, develop training content. That's pretty obvious. I think a lot of people are doing that just kind of an enterprise level right now. How do you, use AI to your advantage to make training processes easier? You can actually develop assets. Some off the shelf models already exist. We've created some tools to develop our own assets internally. At some point, those will become more public facing and available to the public to license and to use and things like that. We're just not ready for that yet. It's all in beta, but we're having a lot of fun doing it ourselves, and then being able to integrate environments and training and all the AI things that we create and assets that we create into those environments and into those processes. The next kind of hurdle that we're trying to jump over is definitely that hard skill. How do you take actual objects and like tools and put things together? How do you build a house, for example, in VR, but using AI to get there? So a lot of things that are being pieced together right now. The next 6 months is very exciting. The roadmap and the technology that we're creating and everybody else in the world is creating. If you get a chance to go to AWE, I will be there. I'll actually be one of the track hosts for AI in XR. So a lot of initials there. But appreciate you listening today, and happy to answer any questions later.
Fabulous, Doug. Thank you so much. I'm really interested if you can share a little bit more about, you talk about some of the challenges that you are now looking at for hard skills. Can you expand on that a little bit and maybe share a little bit about more about what are some of the challenges that you're seeing as you're building AI into experiences, and would love to have you unpack that a little bit. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. I'll take just a minute to explain what my development team has been saying to me, because again, I'm not a developer, programmer, AI person, but can certainly understand their frustrations. And we're working through it. With when it comes to avatars and people, those of you familiar with Unity and those tools that are out there for graphics, there's a lot of rigging involved when you're talking about animating people and getting them to understand how to connect text and verbal text is being communicated and have that sync up with the actual animations that are going on with people. But now that's been kind of figured out. But now when getting in, and so you can do a lot with that with soft skills. But now we're getting in to the hustles, and there are a lot of variables with every single activity. So yes, you could start with things that are standardized, like safety for OSHA 10, for example. There are things that are very much standardized, and we have a lot of those assets already. But once you start to get into training activities like building a house, or you're manufacturing a widget at a factory, there are a lot of variables there. And so our team is trying to kind of do some predictive analytics on what are the most commonly used activities, for example, first, because that's lowest hanging fruit and broadest stroke. But there could be infinite number of variables to any particular physical activity that you're doing for workforce education. So we're just trying to narrow that down, maybe even use AI to do some of those predictive analytics to understand what sequence of events in that training makes the most sense to then sell it out. Off the shelf is typically where we're going with this, off the shelf kind of content that anybody could use. Of course, we do custom development for anybody, and we can create anything. Your imagination is the limit there. But when we're trying to talk off the shelf products for a little bit more consumable, a little bit cheaper price, and ready to go.
Awesome. I wonder about how do you see the transitioning towards how people gain to connect with credentials? Because I know that in the training world and workforce development, that's always been a big challenge is to be able to have accessible, interchangeable, identifiable, verifiable credentials so that someone who's taking that training, are you collaborating with those as you're developing these things, or what kinds of things are you hearing from some of the partners and some of the clients that you're talking with as they are developing that to try to make the case, the ROI case?
It is. You're exactly right. And it comes from top down. It can't be bottom up when you're talking about credentialing. That's something I think everybody in the immersive tech world has struggled with a little bit. But I think we're there. I was just in DC at the National Workforce Board Association this weekend, and that's exactly what they're talking about. How do we get immersive technology? Web AR and Web XR and virtual reality headsets and everything. How do we get that content accredited? How do we get it part of the credentialing pass? I think the first step of that, and when I say that, I mean the next 12 months. I feel that's the case, that we're going to have pre-credentialing programs, training programs, that then lead to an in-person test or an in-person assessment or something on a physical piece of equipment. But you can get, in my opinion, for what I've seen, probably 60 to 70% of that confidence and learning level accomplished in virtual reality or even WebXR before you ever step foot in an actual physical training center. So I think it's coming. I think the federal government's going to be the one driving that through OSHA first of all, and then you're going to have the unions and the trade labor organizations who are going to be driving that as well. And we're starting to see those talks kind of finalize right now, even.
Right. One last question for those companies that are hesitant on adopting AI. What's the one key kind of benefit that they may not really see or that might not be um, accessible to them to really grasp as you're talking with potential um, client partners?
Yeah, and this is a great question. I always say this when I'm talking to even potential customers. When's the last time you've seen your employees in training on fire? Not literally, but don't, on fire. They're ready to do it. They want to do it. Um, it falls back to engagement. I think it's a hard thing to quantify, but you are going to get engagement when you have these pieces of equipment ready to go and you have the right training and content in there.